Now that all the council members are present, I call to order the May 21st meeting of the City of West Sacramento City Council, West Sacramento Redevelopment Agency, and Finance Authority. We will begin with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we live, work, learn, and commune is the original homelands of the indigenous people of West Sacramento, who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We acknowledge and we thank the original inhabitants who have occupied, maintained, and secured this place, who still exist on this land. We respect and celebrate the many diverse indigenous people still connected to this land on which we gather. The council met in closed session this evening, and you'll see what the agenda items on our agenda. Mr. City Attorney, would you please provide a report?
Certainly. Council met in closed session for two of the items on the agenda. No reportable action was taken.
Okay, thank you. We would like to invite our guests to join the council and staff in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Sergeant Robert Brazier.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sergeant. As is noted on the agenda, City Council is prohibited by state law from discussing or taking any action on items that are brought up under item 1 for public comment, but it provides an opportunity for a public forum. The public is given an opportunity at this time to address City Council issues not listed on the agenda. We do ask that anyone wishing to address the council on this or any other items this evening, to please fill out a request to speak card and return it to the clerk. We accept the request to speak cards up to the conclusion of the reading of the staff report. And tonight we will have 3 items or several items brought together, and I'll provide some instruction for that. And then we will make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak on all the items. Once the staff report has been read and we open up the item for public comment, the clerk will announce your name for you to walk to the podium to speak. Now, in front of the clerk, there is a timer to ensure that everyone has a chance to be heard. And we ask that all comments be limited to 3 minutes. Also, in front of the clerk is an analog flip chart, which indicates which agenda item the council is currently considering. And we also recognize that for some, speaking in public can cause anxiety, so we request that there be no applause or boos, catcalls, or other demonstrations. Furthermore, that we may maintain a civil discourse here in the chambers. We ask that those in attendance and those who address the City Council abide by the code of conduct posted and not speak in loud, threatening, offensive, abusive, or other disrespectful language that disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. Now, this brings us to item 1, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the council. And each person, again, has 3 minutes to speak. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Kathy Bailey.
Good evening, council members, city staff, and guests. My name is Kathy Bailey. I'm the board president of Riva on the River off of Village Parkway. I'm here to represent 252 Riva homeowners who have suffered both emotional and financially due to an alarming pattern of property crimes and the continued lack of meaningful police response. On February 24th, 2025, 4-unit condos in our complex, including Aaron's, she's in the back row right there, and including Allie, who's in the second row, sustained intentional water damage. Damage so extensive that remediation alone on day 1 was over $50,000. We expect the total loss to exceed $400,000 when all is said and done. And yet, despite our efforts to preserve the scene and secure evidence, law enforcement failed to investigate. No fingerprinting, no follow-up. The likely culprit did not even get questioned. Eventually, an officer told us that officers are only able to respond to person crimes, not property crimes. Let me be clear. This was a targeted act. This was not a leak or pipe failure. It was an act of vandalism with long-term financial consequences for multiple families. To be told that this isn't a police matter is not only disheartening, it's dangerous. If intentional property destruction on this scale is no longer being investigated, what message does this send our community? This is not an isolated issue. In the past, our community has reported over 30 separate incidents of mail theft in a period of 3 years. There is more out there in the past. Again, there was little to no investigations. We had videos of people and vehicles and license plate numbers. The only conviction occurred after a couple who got us 2 of those 30 times was caught with stolen mail during a traffic stop, not through proactive investigation, but by chance. That conviction was for vandalism, not theft. This demonstrates how vulnerable we are and how unprotected our neighborhoods have become. We are now left facing over $400,000 in repair costs, which insurance covering only a portion of those losses. Worse, our complex is the risk of having insurance policies canceled or not renewed. In California's current insurance climate, this could render 252 homes uninsurable, unsaleable, and at least 200 foreclosures. This is not an inconvenience, it's a financial crisis for working families. As for Erin, she is left fighting insurance companies. As for Allie, she has to eat this. We understand the staff is limited, resources are stretched. We urge the council to address this pattern with urgency, whether it's pressure for departmental policy
Bailey,
change,
can you please
funding
wrap it up?
allocations, or public accountability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guy Stevenson.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Hello, Mr. Stevenson.
How you doing?
Good.
City council members, mayor, nice to see you. I want to address this because, you know, there's a shortfall of police officers in the streets here, but I understand that, you know, there's problems going on, but, you know, a lot of departments have that same problem, even Sacramento. And so, please part of the people, part of the time, but you can't please all the time. First thing is Sergeant Robert Frazier. I got to tell you that this guy is a good leader. And not only is he a good rep, a union rep, but I appreciate him. But he is a person who listens to the community and wants to hear what the community's got to say. And so is the chief of police and the deputy chief. These are people that you guys got one of the best law enforcement agencies in Northern California, I think. And they listen to you, they want your concerns. And I tell people that if they have a problem with the police, go up and talk to them. Have a conversation with them. Don't be afraid of them. They're not going to hurt you. They don't got like bugs or, you know, or diseases. They're good people. You know what I mean? And so now the next thing is that, and I need to bring this up because it's a very, very important issue. You have a big Afghan group of people in West Sacramento. They speak Farsi. They do not understand the laws of the United States. The laws in the Middle East, of course, are different than here. And there is a communication problem with the police, the fire department, and be able to have a communication with them. Because they don't know the laws here. They don't know the vehicle codes here, the penal codes. And I think that the city really needs to have somebody that's part of an outreach program that can kind of navigate, you know, the problems with being able to communicate, because people run into problems because they do not know how to address the police. And the police in the Middle East are not the nicest people in the world. And so I want them to be able to trust the police, trust the fire department. And so I think that you need to hire somebody with the city that speaks Farsi and to help them. And you know what I mean? When the police have a problem communicating, maybe they have to have somebody come in there that will speak Farsi so the police know that they're protected and they can report crimes. You know what I mean? So thank you very
Mr.
much
Stevenson.
and have a good night.
Thank you.
We have no additional requests to speak.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to take the opportunity to switch around our next item, which is our presentations under the City Manager's Office. Now that we have a nice showing of our police officers who are currently on patrol, we want to be able to release them back out in the community, keep our streets safe. So thank you so much for being here. I will begin with the proclamation of the City of West Sacramento's City Council recognizing May 11th through 17th, 2025 as National Police Week. And May 15 as Peace Officers Memorial Day. And I will welcome to the podium, well, make your way up here while I read the proclamation, West Sacramento Police Chief and our Sergeant Robert Schmidt. And the rest of the police officers, please come on up and surround your leaders here while I begin reading the proclamation. Recognizing May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the West Sacramento Police Department, and whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, nearly 24,412 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty while serving the communities, and whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed a proclamation designating May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, whereas 345 new names of fallen heroes were added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, including 148 who have died in the line of duty in 2024, and 197 from previous years whose sacrifices were recently recognized. And whereas Yola County has endured the loss of 12 of its own community protectors since 1912, including West Sacramento Police Department's own officer James H. McKnight in 1990, and whereas Officer James H. McKnight faithfully served the West Sacramento community since the city's incorporation of 1987, and he and the entire McKnight family will forever have our gratitude. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of West Sacramento does hereby recognize May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and publicly salutes the service of law enforcement proclaimed this 21st day of May 25th. I'd like to give the chief and the sergeant an opportunity to speak, and then we'll take a photograph and allow any others to speak if you'd like to.
Well, thank you, and please know how appreciative all of us are at the West Sacramento Police Department, but even more broadly in the profession when you all and others in positions like yours take the opportunity to actually call out your appreciation, not only for the ultimate sacrifices that have been paid in this noble work that we do, but also in recognition of the sacrifices that are being made on a daily basis in the communities that we are serving in. So thank you for taking the time to honor this day, this week, where we spend that time in reverence to those sacrifices. We truly appreciate that over the last couple of years, there's been a commitment to acknowledging James McKnight, the McKnight family, and we'll add a little bit to that tonight, and Sergeant Schmidt will talk about that, along with K-9 Captain, who actually just a few months after Officer McKnight was killed, we lost K-9 in the line of duty as well. We really appreciate that each of you is in your own way demonstrating a real interest in learning more about the work that we do, the profession as a whole, these great people and their partners, the true challenges that we encounter, and the sacrifices that both we and our families make while we are at work and while we are working through the stressors and the trauma and all the other things that we see and that add up through the course of our careers. So with that, thank you, and I will turn it over to Sergeant Schmidt.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for your acknowledgement and support for Police Week. I wanted to share an update to a fallen officer project that the police department is working on. We've unfortunately had one officer killed in the line of duty, and we've had one canine officer. We've started a project to pay tribute and remember both of those officers by adding an outdoor monument to our police department that'll be located in the parking lot. We've also created a locker display, and we'll have a police uniform, a photo, and other items to remember Officer James McKnight. For our fallen canine officer captain, we are creating a display for him too, equipped with a photo, badge, collar, and an inscription. With all that said, thank you for your support.
Just the opportunity to close here. As it stands right now, as we're getting going on the project that was described, we have already been met with some wonderful generosity and support from those that will help us actually pave the way and pay the way for this project. So I did want to close by just talking about, I've already mentioned and appreciate your support, but really the support of our community as a whole. We work somewhere where we're really fortunate that there is, not the hesitation we've seen other places to actually acknowledge the good work that happens, the positivity we contribute to the community, and I think it shows in a lot of the partnerships that we had the pleasure of experiencing. I do want to note, though, just a few short years ago, folks that sat where you sit today in cities all across this nation and government bodies all across this nation, doing what you're doing here tonight did not happen very many. So the courage and the commitment that is now shown, I appreciate more than words can probably express. So thank you for speaking up. Thank you for being bold and acknowledging the sacrifices that have been made, the great work being accomplished, for recognizing the amazing people who work here and their dedication, tenacity, their courage, their compassion. They're immensely worthy of this praise. And we appreciate that commitment and that ongoing commitment. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. Any others would like to speak? I'm going to encourage Sergeant Brazier to come up to the microphone and share a few words. Sergeant, please.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity again here to speak. I'm going to keep it brief. From our association standpoint, as our current president and looking towards the future here, we've got a bright future, and that's only because of the commitment that city staff and city council has made to giving us the opportunity to grow as a department. And we couldn't do that without you and the support of the community. So thank you very much for that acknowledgement and the acknowledgement of Police Memorial Week.
Thank you, Sergeant. And I would like to ask my colleagues if you have any thoughts to share.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of West Sacramento community. You have a great chief who set such an example for everyone. And Chief, thank you for this wonderful, professional, very diverse force.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. It's incredible to see all of you in front of us today. Thank you for being here, and just thank you for your dedication. Every morning you put on a uniform and go out to protect our community, to connect the community, and you put your lives at risk. And it's something that I see and I don't take lightly. And your commitment and your family's commitment is just incredible. I had the opportunity to do a ride along, and I think 2 people were in the room when we briefed that night, and there were 2 parts of that evening that really stuck out to me. Just the teamwork and collaboration before the evening kicked off on how a plan was going to go down. And it was just incredible to see the teamwork and the strategy and the commitment to safety as everybody was working together. And I've never seen interactions like that before. And then the other part of the evening, actually 3 parts, was when we went like 80 miles an hour down Jefferson Boulevard. That was incredible. With lights and sirens on. That was fun. But the other part was there was a terrible accident on West Capitol Avenue. A car had hit a tree, and we arrived on scene, and immediately everybody knew exactly where they needed to be and what they needed to do. And from speaking with the residents who were on site to getting witnesses, just this it was this organized orchestra that didn't have anybody like specifically telling everybody what to do. And it was just incredible to see from the sidelines. And I know that's work that you guys do all the time. And so, great to see you. My partner, or I was his partner. It was incredible to see that in action, and I wish more residents could participate, see the incredible work. And then on top of all that, your commitment to the community, you know, coffee with the cop, the ice creams, you know, Sergeant Brazier was out on his bike this Sunday with a community bike ride. Just the extra time you spend to connect and spend time in the community, it means a lot. The kids love it, the adults love it, and so thank you for all the work that you do, and I just appreciate you all so much.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember?
I had just graduated from law school and was an intern with the Sacramento County District Attorney's Office when I was told I got the opportunity to shadow an attorney in trial. Little did I know it was an officer-involved shooting that involved the death of one of Sac Police Department's finest. I was an intern on the Billy Bean case. It's for some of you guys who've been around for a while know that officer's name. And there have unfortunately been many since his passing, but it was my first foray into what it looks like to really, truly put your life on the line in order to protect a community that doesn't always thank you for that service. I knew after that experience that I had to be a DA. I didn't know that 8 years later I would subpoena the guy that I would eventually marry. Someone who just retired after 30 years with Sac Police and went right back to become a retired annuitant because the love of that work is deep in his heart. But I tell you that not to highlight my family, but to say that I went from an observer of what it is that you guys do from afar in a uniform or on TV to a woman who's waiting at home for her husband to get off of work and not taking that for granted, right? There have been several incidences in our life where he's been called out, and I'm watching what's going on TV, trying to figure out whether or not he's involved directly. We've discussed many times what that would look like if he did join the people that we are honoring tonight. The sacrifice is deep. And every time you put that badge and vest on and your duty belt, you become a target. And unfortunately, in this climate, you aren't always rewarded for the duty and the service that you give back. With that stated, tonight is just a small token of our ability to honor and reflect upon those who have given everything, all of it. There's no amount of compensation that could ever reward those who've given that gift to us and given it all and lost their family. You know, as someone who lives this life in a household with that feeling every day, I got to say that I have nothing but the utmost respect for every single one of you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your service. Thank you for coming here tonight. I know that a lot of you guys could be home right now. Thank you so much for the time that you've taken away from your families, your spouses, your extended communities to be with us here in West Sacramento. Tonight, someone said, West Sac finest. And there's not a day that it doesn't come up when if I have the opportunity to talk about police, I talk about our department. So I want you to know how respected and cared for and appreciated you are by all of us here tonight, including one that isn't here tonight due to just personal matters. But on her behalf, I will tell you, thank you. Thank you very much for everything you do for us.
Thank you, Councilmember. Chief and Deputy Chief and all the ranking officers and all of you, thank you for all your work. And I would like to ask that we have an additional proclamation for our canine officer, because I've stood by our canine, officers as well, and they are the first line sometimes in very dangerous situations, who are out here to protect us and you. And that tragedy needs to be recognized, and I'm so grateful that you're doing what you can to recognize our canine officers. In hearing that the history hasn't been so positive, I'd like to utilize this opportunity to ask you to open your hearts and ask for forgiveness for what's happened in the past, to bring healing so that we can look forward to the future, looking forward in working more collaboratively, sharing more of what's going on in your hearts and minds and your daily lives with us. We are a compassionate council, and working collaboratively with you, and I'll do another ride-along, as many as I can. I know I've done a couple and, saw our officer carry down a person who OD'd, seeing the investigation that is done, working side by side with the coroner's office. Long time, which took several officers off the street and put others at risk. When you're out there and one or two are down, managing a situation, and that is very scary for us to think about what tragic situation can happen while we're council members, and the responsibility that we feel, but we share with you because we know that you are dealing with it day in, day out. And your leadership, who has to manage the challenging tasks of being able to make sure that the streets are covered, sending difficult emails to our constituents who are asking for more, as they're asking from all of us more. And we're doing all we can to try to make that happen. And you are a priority for us on council. And we will do more than what we have done in the past and in the future, just to invest more in making sure that we continue to have qualified, trained, and great officers like you who are serving our community. And I know our community is very just grateful for all you do and all of the extra little things that you do, by engaging with the community in more ways than one. And thank my colleagues for their remarks and share them. You don't want to repeat anything here, but I do want to say that you are one of the finest police departments in the Northern California region, as Guy Stevenson has pointed out. He's right. I am so proud to be your mayor and to continue to work with you. So with that, we'll go down and take a photo.
No, not good.
Um, Okay.
You
have
call
one?
her up.
You did? Okay.
Mayor, you can call her up and I can read the resolution.
Okay, that's fine. We'll do the Asian American, whichever you want first. We'll do the, so we'll have the, next is the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And so we are going to next have the proclamation of the West Sacramento City Council recognizing May as Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And Councilmember Orozco.
Yes. Well, I am absolutely honored to have the opportunity to bring this back before the council. Our council did make this an annual proclamation, and we look forward to seeing our community coming together every May to celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Tonight, we take a moment to honor and recognize the Asian American and Pacific Islander in our community, as well as outside our communities, all of our vibrant cultures, the diversity, the rich histories, and meaningful contributions of our AAPI community in West Sacramento. This community, again, it's very, very diverse, but we have folks in small businesses, community organizations, education, one of whom, many of whom are allies, right? Who really have joined in and dug into the communities to really embrace what it means to have this unique experience. Tonight, I'm grateful to have representatives from a diverse background, both representative from the Asian American Pacific American Political Association, and that is Gukern Sufai. And I also, please come to the podium. I also have the great pleasure of having representatives from our River City High School, as well as, it looks like, younger siblings that are also here in support. I want to give a shout out to Patrice Griffith, who always dedicates so much time to bring our students before the council. One of the things I did mention to many of the students tonight was that I hope that they sometime will be up here representing our community, but to feel honored to take the opportunity to say a few words or just take a photo with us. So I want to invite the students to stand behind our speaker, Mr. Sufai, and if you feel comfortable, please come up to the front. That's right, you're on camera. Get comfortable. All right, sir.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Council, for inviting me here. My name is Gurkern Sufi. I am the chairman of APAPA Davis. APAPA is a national organization. We advocate for representation for the Asian Pacific Islander community across the nation. So really, we are a community that's kind of shrouded in a lot of misunderstanding. Usually you associate Asian Pacific Islander with very specific features, but it's actually quite large. And with that, I hope that continuing to do this year after year and also some more community events in May will serve to improve some of that understanding between the community and other communities within our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
All right. Anyone? Okay. At this point, Madam Mayor, we can take a photo.
Yes, let's go take a photo.
Oh, did you want to say something? Yes, and just for the record, I have Kiohiolo Kalani Griffiths, Kikoa Griffiths, Lana Tobiah, Joy Henderson, Maverick Henderson, Morgan Henderson, and they represent the future of our community.
I would just like to say thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to celebrate AA and HPI month, because it's not very often that I get to see people that look like me celebrated in this community. So thank you.
Madam, if I could take
Yes, you may.
Thank
Of course.
you. Thank you. It just, as you spoke right now, it just occurred to me that I'm one of, I think, I think I am the only Asian American Pacific Islander City Council member in the history of the city, if I'm not mistaken. And I am grateful for the opportunity to stand before you or sit before you and have somebody recognize that, because quite frankly, we need to invest in expanding that to just being an absolute normal experience, right? And what I said earlier about taking the opportunity to take the podium, this is the exercise that you get comfortable with repetition. Quite frankly, when my grandfather Carino, that's how I got my name, Carino Villanueva, came from the Philippines back in the early 1900s, he had never an imagination that he would have a granddaughter who would be sitting on a city council. Back then, he couldn't go to a restaurant without someone telling him to get out because they don't feed dogs there. So if you think about the advancement of all of the diverse cultures within the AAPI community and how far we've come to be able to occupy a seat like this is just incredible. So keep that on your register. Thank you all for coming up. And thank you so much for representing the leadership in the future of the AAPI community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And just to add, we have a significant number of AAPI members of our community that get overlooked, as far as members of the Sikh community come from Polynesian islands, and they accept their religion, but they are members of that community that I've learned and have continued to grow. And even as I canvass the city, I see a lot of people who are native Chinese speakers, and a lot of just looking at the surnames, and I've just been incredibly, just understanding deeply that our community does and we should do more. And we're always open to learning more about what we can to celebrate your heritage. I think our community, we just need to do more. So I'm going to just end it there. I think we, just like Juneteenth, we need to figure out a day to bring together our Asian American Pacific Islander community and just embrace it together and help them to feel welcome in our city. Council members?
I was just going to say, I was wondering when Asian Pacific Islander was first recognized, and it was actually President Obama in 2021 that did a proclamation. And I'm so happy that West Sacramento is doing this again. The current presidential administration is doing away with recognizing the different cultures and all the wonderful contributions they bring to our nation. So I'm very proud that West Sacramento continues this tradition in recognizing your heritage and the heritages of many other people who have made this country great. Thank you.
In high school, or I guess I was in middle school, but we had an exchange student from China live with us. She went to River City High School, and that was our family's first experience with an Asian community. And now I have, an Asian big sister. The red envelopes was my first, and now 20 years later, 40 years later, I don't know how old we are now. We look forward to the red envelopes every year, and those special traditions that your community is just so willing to share with others. It's just incredible. On Monday night, I attended my sister's house, had an event that council member Karina Roscoe actually performed at. And the community is so incredibly strong and so incredibly welcoming. And I just thank you I'm an ally, but thank you for welcoming me and allowing me to celebrate you. And it's so wonderful to see the kids. And did I hear there's a Maverick in the room? My son's name is Maverick. That's a great name. So thank you for being here tonight and sharing yourselves with us.
With that, we'll go down for a photo.
Hold on. Sorry. Thank you.
And finally, it's a proclamation recognizing May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month, and our very own Dr. Mary Young. I think you have somebody with you. You're the clinical manager of the Children's Behavioral Health and the Crisis Systems of Care for Yolo County. Please come on up, and we'd like for you to share a few words, but we're going to have Councilmember Norma Alcala read the proclamation.
Thank you. Proclamation of the City Council, City of West Sacramento, declaring May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas mental health is an essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas in California, nearly 1 in 5 California adults experience a mental illness, and 1 in 26 has a serious mental illness that makes it difficult to carry out daily activities, and whereas there are many possible risk factors that can influence how likely a person is to experience a mental health condition, which include exposure to trauma, your environment and how it impacts your health and quality of life, genetics, brain chemistry, and lifestyle. And whereas 988 is now available nationwide. This new 3-digit number is easy to remember way for people to connect with support during mental health, substance use, or suicide crisis. Anyone in mental health crisis can call, text, or chat with 988 and be connected to trained crisis counselors in the 988 Suicide and Crisis Life Work Network. And whereas several local agencies and community organizations are collaborating efforts to address mental health concerns, including the Yolo County Local Mental Health Board and the Yolo County Health and Human Services Agency Wellness Centers in West Sacramento, Woodland, and Davis. And whereas West Sacramento is grounded in the belief that we must look out for one another, and whether it affects our family members, friends, co-workers, or those unknown to us, we do a service for each other when we reach out and help those struggling with mental health issues. And whereas in fiscal year 2022-23, 1,283 West Sacramento residents ages 1 through 86 engaged in mental health services with Yolo County Health and Human Services Agency, and 8,819 mental health services were provided. These numbers have more than doubled since 2020. And whereas significant local investments have made to raise awareness of mental health issues and increase access to mental health services through collaborative projects such as Crisis Intervention Team and co-responder model, which is moving Yolo County towards a more effective and compassionate crisis response system in alignment with the 2025 Mental Health Awareness Month theme. In every story, there's strength, which underscores the power of individual experience to inspire hope and resilience in our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the West Sacramento City Council that the month of May 2025 be recognized as Mental Health Awareness Month. Proclaimed this 21st day of May of 2025.
Dr. Young?
Sure. I'm here with our Behavioral Health Compliance Officer as well. I just want to say thank you for having us here tonight and recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month. It obviously is important to recognize, help reduce stigma, improve access to services for folks in our community. And just on behalf of our Behavioral Health Director, we sincerely appreciate the collaboration we have with the City of West Sacramento through some of the things that you spoke about that improves the well-being of community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Would anybody like to add anything? I would like to add that Dr. Young is an incredible doctor. She's helped my family quite a bit. And it's been a long, tough road, but, you know, she's definitely a fighter for doing what's right for our children. And it's very hard to find good clinicians, especially in this region, for children, that can help treat them. I think after COVID, we've seen a rise and we've seen some challenges among our youth, and trying to bring them back and to reason with them and to set them on a path so they are doing well. I mean, it's always a struggle with all of our children. So clinicians are psychologists, psychiatrists, and social workers, and everybody on the team, you know, that does come in to help. It takes a village to help our children, any one child, to succeed. And they are in our schools daily. They are in our homes, taking care of our children and making sure that children find the support they need. They definitely increase the safety of our community with interventions, and I always appreciate whatever we can do as a community, as a city council, to enhance the support that our clinicians need. Myself, I'm now CSW, so that our children continue to thrive, and greatly appreciate all you do. So thank you.
May
ahead.
I? Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for your work and, you know, the effort of reducing stigma and sharing my story. You know, I have diagnosed ADHD, and for the people that struggle with ADHD, sometimes you feel like there's a world around you that you just can't control, and finding competent care and finding your team to support you, how important that is. And once you understand your diagnosis and how it works and really work to your strengths, you can really harness the power of your ADHD and do incredible things. And so I'll just share that for anybody who's watching, especially young girls who might be struggling with ADHD, that there is hope and there is opportunity for you, and you can do incredible things once you get that diagnosis and work with a team to support you. So thank you for being part of those people's teams and for all the work that you do in the community.
Right, we'll go down and take a photo. Next is our consent agenda, items 5 through 13. Is it 5 through 13?
Yes.
Are there any requests to remove an item? We do have an errata for 9. 9?
I
9.
just,
We do, oh, yes, we do have to remove the Liberty one, too. Which one is that?
5. Would you like me to step out for 5?
Yes, we'll have to take out 5.
You don't actually have to step out of the room.
Oh,
but
really? I can just sit
yeah,
here?
as long as there's no discussion on the item. Correct.
Correct, as long as it's on the consent agenda and there's no discussion.
Can we keep it on the consent agenda? The rest? Okay. And we do
Yes, the
have,
record will just need to reflect that Councilmember Sulpizio recused herself because of a conflict.
so then we would have to take it separately.
No, you can vote on the consent calendar. Well, yes, let's do it that way.
Take it separately.
Let's take one vote on the Liberty item and then one vote on the rest of the consent calendar.
Okay, So I'll accept a motion for item 5.
Second.
I'll accept a
In my
motion. You
non-
moved
was
it?
it-
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilmember
Yes.
Orozco moved and Councilmember Alcala seconded. Madam Clerk, this is for item number 5.
Councilmember Alcala?
Aye.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye. And to burn up, Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull recused herself. Okay, next is 6 through 13, and we have an errata to amend item number 9, and with that, I'll accept a motion to approve, if there's no request to remove any items. And Madam Clerk, there are no requests to speak on any of these?
We have no request to speak on any item on the consent agenda.
All right, thank you. With that, I'll accept a motion.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay. Madam Clerk, Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull moved and Councilmember Roscoe seconded. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Alcala?
Aye.
Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye. All right, that item is approved. The consent is approved. Next, we have item 14. Under Economic Development under Economic Development and Housing is presentation to consider the 2025 Annual Action Plan for the Community Development Block Grant. And we have Isaiah Alford, our Associate Community Investment Planner, present today.
I'm a little high talent.
Uh-oh. Do you have a presentation?
Yes, I'm waiting on it. There we go.
There we go.
All right, good evening, Mayor Guerrero and members of the council. My name is Isaiah Alford, and I am the Community Investment Planner in the Economic Development and Housing Department. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an overview of the proposed activities for the upcoming 2025 Community Development Block Grant funding. After the presentation, staff respectfully requests the council's direction on proposed activities for the inclusion of the 2025 Annual Action Plan. In 2016, the city of West Sacramento became an entitlement jurisdiction, which enabled the city to receive CDBG funding directly from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. As part of the CDBG program, the city must develop a consolidated plan that must occur every 3 to 5 years. This plan assesses the needs of low-income persons and neighborhoods and set long-term goals. To implement those goals, the city must also prepare an annual action plan that identifies and allocates funding to specific activities. All funded activities must address one of 3 national objectives. The national objectives form the foundation for the city's consolidated plan goals. The first national objective benefits low and moderate income persons, which is the primary objective. The second is the prevention or elimination of slums and blight, for example, using CDBG funds to acquire deteriorated properties in blighted areas for rehabilitation. And the third addresses urgent needs, which is something like a disaster or emergency. At least 70% of CDBG funds must benefit low to moderate income households. While the CDBG is a strict funding source, it allows for a broad range of eligible activities. These activities may include, but not limited to, housing rehabilitation or rental housing acquisition, construction and rehabilitation of public facilities and public infrastructure, economic development effort, support job creation or retention, and social services such as daycare centers, food banks, or shelters. So here's the current consolidated plan that was approved in April 2021, and it includes 6 key goals. Goal number 1 addresses homelessness, which has been a core priority of Council's strategic plan. Goal number 2 creates low barrier housing opportunities for the unhoused population. Goal number 3 is infrastructure improvements in low-income neighborhoods. Goal number 4 offers fair housing education and counseling services. Goal number 5, support small businesses and establish economic opportunities. And goal number 6, preserves affordable housing stock through housing rehab funding for single-family units. It is important to note that not all goals may be achieved nor funded with CDBG funds solely. So here are some projects that CDBG funded over the current consolidated plan. The Homeless Emergency Housing Rehabilitation Project. In April 2024, City Council approved the acquisition of the former Pickwick and El Cajon motels for an expansion of operations of the homeless emergency housing programs. Both motels require substantial rehabilitation needs and will provide interim housing for persons experiencing homelessness with the goal of securing permanent housing. The North Riverwalk Trail Extension Project. CDBG funds were used from the 2016 and 2022 action plans, enhancing ADA accessibility and connectivity to the I Street Bridge. The Washington and Broderick Lighting and Safety Project. Funds from the 2020 and 2022 action plan for the street light and traffic signal improvements in the Washington and Broderick neighborhood, specifically in Census Tract 101.01. Fair housing services have been funded annually of the current consolidated plan and the previous consolidated plan to support tenant and landlord education and counseling services. And home peace supportive services, case management services at 817 West Capitol Ave provide critical support to individuals experiencing homelessness. So although CDBG funds are used for a wide range of activities, not all are good strategic uses due to federal regulations and requirements. Staff attempts to be strategic and use CDBG funds on projects that are ready to move forward and will not expend an undue amount in order to meet our federal requirements. So we use CDBG funds to leverage other private, state, and federal funding. This ensures that funds are spent effectively and efficiently. So each year, the city receives approximately $500,000 in CDBG funding. The budget must be allocated according to the following caps. 20% is allocated towards general administration and planning. 15% are capped at public service activities. And 65% is for capital and other eligible projects. All expenditures must align with HUD's national objectives. So the amounts of the agenda report were estimates based on last year's allocation because HUD didn't release the funding at the time. Since then, HUD announced the actual allocation on May 14th. We received official notice that the city will receive $546,333. In addition, the city has about $277,438.41 in carryover funds from prior year resources. These are funds that were not drawn down because we must spend program income first before we spend any entitlement allocation. We expect to receive another $15,000 in program income this year. And lastly, the funds must be used for eligible activities with up to 20% going towards general administration and planning. So these actual amounts will be reflected in the staff report when staff return to council on June 18th. So staff recommends the following activities for the 2025 program year. The Homeless Emergency Housing Rehabilitation Project. Ongoing improvements are needed at existing homeless shelter sites. City just recently closed escrow on the former Westwood Motel and will require substantial rehabilitation work. In program year 2024, this program served 161 participants, and 13 individuals from these programs have successfully transitioned into permanent housing. The Homeless Supportive Services activity will need continued funding for case management services, which is critical for connecting participants with permanent housing and support services. And general administration and planning is required for preparation of HUD documents such as the annual action plan, the 5-year consolidated plan, and the performance evaluation report, and as well as fair housing services. So these are recommendations and they're not final. We are here to receive council's input and any additional activities you believe should be considered. So the process for developing the 2025 annual action plan includes presentations before the Economic Development and Housing Commission and the Parks and Recreation Commission. With recommendations received, we was able to create a draft of the action plan and make that draft available for a 30-day public comment period. And that brings us here today for a workshop to receive direction from council. And we plan to return to council with the final action plan for review and approval. Since we received the annual award letter on May 14th, we will have 60 days to submit the annual action plan. But we plan on submitting the action plan on July 1st. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time. I'm open for questions and comments.
Thank you, Isaiah. I'll open it up for public comment first. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
We have no request to speak on this item.
Thank you. Closing public comment, bringing it back. Are there any more questions? Isaiah, thank you as always for doing this. I do have a question. The commissions that have reviewed it did provide a recommendation that I'd like to support, which is success stories and the information, the data that you provided. And I know it's hard on some of the projects previously, like a trail or whatever, but if there's any way to be able to show, considering, I'll tell you, CDBG's on the chopping block in the president's budget next go around, and we are fighting in Congress to restore this funding. So what it takes is a human impact story. These are the people that are going to be hurt. So if you can help us, even if you can historically go back and get some information, that'll be helpful. Other than that, I like the recommendations you provided. So thank you for your work on that. You've done a lot of work getting this socialized. Do we have to take any action just to maybe accept the report or the recommendation?
Yeah, just there's no action required at this.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
May I? Is it okay to
Councilmember
give
Roscoe.
comments? Not
Oh,
just-
absolutely. Go
okay,
ahead.
Okay. So thank you so much for the presentation. It's always nice to see you at the podium. As part of our strategic plan, West Sacramento is one of the very few councils that get together every year in February and actually duke it out about what it is that our strategic priorities are for this city. Looking forward in the next year. Sometimes we take things off of the agenda because we've completed them or we've made substantial progress so that it doesn't have to remain on the agenda. This year, in the last 9 years that I've done this, I've seen a drastic change to many of the priorities, and then there are some that are just sticklers. They stay there, like flood control for sure. This year, one of the big priorities that I had was making an impact on West Capitol Avenue and changing the complexion of that corridor. West Capitol Avenue used to be a destination location back when it attracted folks that were movie stars and big names, and they would come to West Sacramento to stay at these nice motels, and you see pictures of them with palm trees and laying out and enjoying themselves. And now these, unfortunately, a lot of these properties have run into dilapidation. They're used for a variety of different housing needs that run the gamut and the trajectory of different incomes, but mostly low income. There's no secret to anyone in our community that West Capitol Avenue has, in some places, fallen into blight and disrepair. I will say that I appreciate the commitment to the investment in the reformation of some of the properties and the investments that we've acquired. I think ultimately, as we raise the bar overall on every single property along the corridor, we will eventually make progress to making West Capitol Avenue once again a destination location. As a representative for District 2, which houses West Capitol Avenue. It might not happen during my term, but I do feel very strongly that resources be invested there so that way we can really lift all boats in our community. Because quite frankly, when people think of West Sacramento, oftentimes they just think of West Capitol Avenue, and there's so much more to our community than just that. But also, you'd have to wonder why it is that people would focus on such an area. That stated, I appreciate the priorities, and I just want to highlight the fact that, so many times I look at all the, you said homeless emergency housing, North Riverwalk Trail Extension, Washington, Broderick Lighting and Safety, Home Key, Fair Housing Services. I just remember the two places that I sit every time we took a vote on these things. And it's kind of crazy to look at this in retrospect and say, we did that. And I look forward to sitting here again and having you come up for us and having another, we did that. So thank you so much for bringing this.
Thank you.
With that, Isaiah, thank you so much for everything, and look forward to seeing your next presentation.
Thank you so
for
much.
approval. All right. Thank you. Deep breath for the next items. So next is package of items that are going to be taken up together, and so before staff presentation, I would like the council to hear the public comment between 15 through 19 following the staff presentation together, if there's any. And then what I will do right now is read through all of them because they're presenting, and then I will read each one after for a vote too. So once so after the presentation, which is all of them together, which makes more sense doing it this way, then I will come back and read each one for an individual vote. So it's a long reading here. All right, so we have item 15, finance, is a resolution of 25-43 of the City Council of the City of West Sacramento affirming the issuance and sale by the City of West Sacramento Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District Number 1 of bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $80 million, approving related pledge agreement, approving facilities to be financed, and determining other matters in connection therewith. Item 16 is a resolution 25-44 affirming the issuance and sale by the City of West Sacramento Infrastructure Financing District Number 1 Bridge District area of bonds in an aggregate principal amount to not exceed $6.5 million, approving related pledge agreement, and determining other matters in connection therewith. Item 17 is City Council Resolution 25-45 of the City of West Sacramento on behalf of the Infrastructure Financing District Number 1 Bridge District area as its legislative body resolution 25-45 authorizing the issuance and sale of Infrastructure Financing District Number 1. Am I repeating my? District Number 1, Bridge District area bonds in aggregate principal. Am I repeating myself? Not to exceed 6.0, determining other matters in connection therewith. Item 18, resolution of the West Sacramento Financing Authority approving the form of and authorizing execution and delivery of the bond purchase agreement related to the City of West Sacramento Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District Number 1 tax increment bonds, approving other actions related to the bonds. Item 19 is consideration of West Sacramento Financing Authority resolution approving the form of and authorizing execution and delivery of the bond purchase agreement related to the City of West Sacramento Infrastructure Financing District Number 1 Bridge District area tax increment bonds, approving other related actions related to the. Michael.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Thank you very much. You just covered my first slide, which is a summary of the 5 agenda items and related actions before you this evening. I have the privilege of presenting this item, but this was a group effort, and years in the making, so I do want to acknowledge our finance director, Roberta Raper, our interim public works director, Ariana Adame, our community investment manager, Mark Polhemus, our city manager, who I've been referring to as the OG of EIFD, for doing so much heavy lifting over the years to get us to this place. We also have a team of consultants, many of whom are here this evening, who have helped prepare the information for tonight and are also available to answer questions. So as the mayor mentioned, we've got agenda items 15 through 19 that are focused on the state's and the city's first issuance sale of bonds for EIFD number 1 and IFD number 1. And the council is acting on behalf of the city, the West Sacramento Financing Authority, and IFD number 1. So you'll see there are 2 actions related to IFD number 1, bond issuance and sale. And there are 3 other agenda items and related actions related to the IFD number 1, bond issuance and sale. And at the conclusion of our presentation, we welcome to receive comment and feedback on all items. And then I do have slides to guide through the individual 5 agenda item considerations. Just a little bit of background on the EIFD number 1 and the IFD number 1. The EIFD includes 14 different sub-areas that cover about a quarter of the city, and within the EIFD is also IFD number 1, which is highlighted on this map, and it's generally the Bridge District area. All of the EIFD areas highlighted here were included in the former redevelopment agency project area. And it's important to note that revenues generated from the district are not a new tax on property owners, but just like our former redevelopment agency and redevelopment project area, revenues result from an increase in assessed property values from their base year. So for the EIFD, that base year is 2017, and for the IFD, the base year is 2014. We've generated increased assessed values over the years and are now at a place where we can consider bond issuance. The goals for EIFD funded facilities are guided and informed by our 2012 Community Investment Action Plan that was adopted by Council. I'm not going to read through all of these, but generally those goals include investment in infrastructure and economic development to catalyze private development, to improve our local economy, increase revenues to the city, and enhance residents' quality of life. I also want to flag that for any projects funded with EIFD bond funds, there is a requirement that 85% of those bond funds be spent on eligible projects within 3 years from the date of bond issuance. The allowable uses for EIFDs are listed here as prescribed by law. EIFD can finance the purchase, construction, expansion, improvement, or rehabilitation of the types of facilities listed here. There's also the potential to finance facilities maintenance if that facility was funded or financed with EIFD revenues. And you'll see that for the IFD, it's a very similar list with an emphasis on projects and facilities of community-wide significance. For each of the districts, there is an infrastructure financing plan. The infrastructure financing plans, or IFPs, identify facilities that are eligible for district funding. There's a general broad list of project categories that you'll see here: transportation, parking, water, sewer, drainage, city buildings, parks and recreation amenities, and economic development projects. And then on the right side of this slide just shows some examples of current projects that fall within those categories and would be eligible for EIFD funding. Very similar for the IFD's IFP. There is a broad list of project categories and some samples of projects that would be eligible for IFD bond funding. Issuing bonds is a way to advance funds to help us implement these and many other projects. And so I would like to invite Mr. Ken Deeker to come up and walk through the bond details and financing. Ken is with Del Rio Advisors. He is the city's municipal advisor. And so I'm going to turn it over to him.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, board members. We've got a lot of hats on tonight. My name is Ken Deeker with Del Rio Advisors, municipal advisor to the city and to the PFA on these upcoming financings. First of all, this will be the first EIFD bond issued in the state of California. So you should be very proud of the fact that you were an early adopter of this potential financing mechanism. And obviously the first EIFD for the city, and we do plan to issue additional bonds within the EIFD. This will also be, as far as I know, the first publicly offered IFD bond issuance. So this is the IFD in the state of California. There have been a couple of other IFDs that have issued obligations, but it's my understanding they've been directly placed with commercial banks and not open to the general bond public. So congratulations on that as well. So in order to, since these are relatively new credits, particularly the EIFD, we've had to go through a validation process to, in essence, certify that the bonds are valid and binding, that the pledge agreements that are being entered into today for both the EIFD and the IFD solidify the pledge of those revenues to the bondholders, and that's all part of a validation process. I do want to introduce a few team members tonight. First of all, obviously, the city attorney and his firm worked diligently through the validation process. We have bond counsel tonight, Adam Timmig and Konstantin Baranoff with us to answer any legal questions. They've been knee-deep in all of these documents. Matter of fact, Adam came up with the concept of the pledge agreement, as he pointed out tonight. Several other members, the primary members here tonight as well are co-underwriters. We have Piper Sandler, Dennis McGuire, and we have co-managers. Hilltop Securities is not here tonight. So let's go to some details. First, going to talk about the EIFD. So the EIFD, the amortization of the bonds will be over a 30-year period. This is assuming no growth in assessed value, considering increases in incremental revenue in 2038 and again in 2045 and 2038. The redevelopment project area matures, and there'll be a bump up in revenues to the EIFD, and we know those are going to happen. And again, the IFD will mature in 2044, meaning there'll be a bump up in revenue in 2045. So we're taking advantage of those known revenue bumps, but we are assuming no growth in assessed value currently. As assessed values grow in the future, that will give the opportunity to do additional EIFD bonds. Here. Okay. Like I said, there are future bonds planned. The life of the EIFD will go 45 years after this bond issuance, so it won't mature until fiscal year 2069, 2070. One thing about the credit, as we've discovered through the process of going through this, the EIFD top 10 taxpayers represent 60.1% of the total incremental revenue. So your top 10 taxpayers are paying a significant portion of the revenue that's supporting the credit. That is not that well diversified. And as time goes forward, as more development occurs, as you put more investment in the community, as more businesses come in, that credit should improve significantly. So as part of the process, we asked S&P, Standard & Poor's rating agency, to evaluate through their rating evaluation service 3 scenarios. The first scenario was 150% debt service coverage, meaning that the incremental revenue would be 1.5 times greater than the debt service on the bonds every year, providing them a potential, if there's a potential downturn in the economy and a downturn in assessed values, it would protect bondholders. They gave that a potential rating of BBB, which is investment grade rating. We also asked them to look at a 135% debt service coverage scenario, and that they provided a rating of that on BBB minus. Again, lowest investment grade rating, but it is investment grade. And finally, what we call the variable debt service coverage, or commonly known as the springing language. In essence, we would start out with 150% coverage for this first round of bonds. As the credit quality of the EIFD improves over time, that can be lowered to 135% and ultimately 125%. Going back to the old redevelopment days, a lot of the credits, as they matured, had 125% debt service coverage. We don't want to give up and lock into the high coverage ratio from the beginning. We would like that to decline as the credit quality improves, and that will enhance the bonding capacity of the EIFD. They also rated that, believe it or not, the same at BBB minus. However, we did approach both Build America Mutual and Assure Guarantee as bond insurers. They both gave us quotes to insure the bonds, and what insurance basically means is you're purchasing an insurance policy that protects the bondholders and raises the credit quality from the underlying BBB minus to a AA credit, thereby lowering the interest rates. In addition, they both offered to provide a surety policy. When you do a normal rated bond transaction, you generally have to fund a cash reserve fund, which is equal to 1 year's debt service. That sits there as unoperating cash, basically sitting in a fund someplace, ready to be drawn down at some future date if needed. However, you can buy insurance. That means they will pay for the reserve fund if there's ever a default, and that frees up additional revenue to go to the project fund. In this case, it's about $5 million, so it's a significant amount of money. Real quick, I want to go back, just revisit the EFD one more time. So we have asked S&P by the end of this week to go ahead and publish the BBB- rating, assuming that variable debt service coverage over time. And we are in negotiations with Assured Guarantee. They provided us the best possible transaction. That is not finalized yet, so I can't tell you for sure that these bonds will or will not be insured, but I will talk about the results of some of that analysis in just a minute. Let's turn to the IFD now. Again, you're considering both of these tonight with your different hats on. This will be amortized over the 20-year remaining life of the IFD. So it had a 30-year a life originally when it was formed. There's 20 years remaining. Tonight for the EIFD, once you issue the first set of bonds, you've got a 45-year clock that starts ticking. When you formed the IFD, it was 30 years from the date it was formed. You're now 10 years in, you've only got 20 years remaining. The IFD overlaps with the EIFD. It's within the Bridge District. It's a smaller territory. So it will have a first claim to some of the tax increment revenue from within its territory before the money flows through to the EIFD. So there's a little bit of a complicated waterfall. Future bonds are planned for the IFD, but again, will be limited to term to 2044. So maybe 5 years from now, you do another round of bonds, you'll be limited to a 15-year maturity. So that clock is running out. Unfortunately, the IFD is a very small geographic area with basically your top 10 taxpayers paying 100% of your tax increment. So you lose one or two of those taxpayers and you don't have any incremental revenue available. So it will be sold as a non-rated security with 125% debt service coverage. So we did not ask the rating agency to rate the credit because it is so small and it lacks any diversification. But it does have potential for growth. But we do know now that we're planning to do that as a non-rated security at 125% debt service coverage. So I wanted to kind of show you, it's a little hard to see up here for the members in the public, but hopefully I do believe you've got this on your screen in front of you. For the EIFD, number one, which is the left side of the screen, you can see that your incremental revenue right now is about $4.3 million a year. Again, this assumes no growth in assessed value. As the successor agency obligations pay off in 2037, you'll see a significant jump in revenue in 2038. And again, as the IFD bonds get paid off in 2044, there is a jump of about $700,000 or $800,000 a year in 2045. And the same impact on the IFD, it's about $311,000 a year of incremental revenue, again, assuming no increases in assessed value. And there's a jump up when the successor agency obligations get paid off. So with that, let's talk a little bit about sort of the summary of where we stand right now with the EIFD. We have asked for a not to exceed amount of $80 million. When we started down this process, we didn't know what this credit was going to look like. We didn't know how many bonds we would be able to issue. Right now, in your agenda packet that was put as part of the agenda, we were showing a $55 million issue size with about $48.6 million of proceeds. That was assuming what we thought would be a BBB rating at the time, and that was back from April. The revised estimate is where a BBB- rated credit without insurance would be today, and we estimate that the net project proceeds would be about $50 million for the EIFD projects. However, because of the AA interest rates and the fact that we could do a surety for the reserve fund, we are paying up to purchase the insurance. However, the freeing up of that reserve fund means that your project fund would go from approximately $50 million on a rated basis to $55.3 million today. So we do believe there is an economic benefit to purchasing the insurance, and we just need to finish those negotiations and covenants that the insurers require. For IFD number one, the not to exceed amount is $6.5 million. Back when we did this in April, we think it's about a $4.6 million estimated par amount that will generate about $3.85 million in project proceeds towards the IFD. There are several documents, and I'm sure you enjoyed the bedtime reading as you were reading through the agenda packet. The primary documents here are the irrevocable pledge of EIFD revenues and IFD revenues. Those are the ones where the respective agency is pledging the tax increment to the bondholders, basically fill up the debt service bucket first from the receipt of the tax increment revenues in both districts, and then the rest of the money is freed up to go to either IFD or EIFD projects. The other one I wanted to point out is the official statement. That is the primary marketing document used by Piper Sandler and Hilltop Securities. They send that out to the bond investment community. That provides all the information about the district and everything credit related and bond related. That is their primary marketing document, and that is in your agenda packet tonight. And then finally, we will be providing continuing disclosure to bondholders over time through an electronic municipal market access system on the internet. That we'll be providing annual disclosure and any material events that could occur during the life of the bond, and that is an ongoing requirement. Again, the documents for the IFD are almost identical. It's just we've got different credits, different hats on here tonight. I don't want to go too much into detail on them. So assuming that we get the various hats approval tonight, we are intending to finish our due diligence and print the official statements at the end of May. We are intending to sell the bonds in the middle of June and close and transfer funds from the bond proceeds by the middle of July. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Michael again, who will kind of walk you through the project side of it.
Thank you. Okay, pending council's support of the items tonight, staff will move forward to begin to refine a list of eligible projects. We like to do that as part of our budget process and hope to be in front of council in September. Some considerations as we're working on refining that list of projects are, it is helpful to include it as part of our budget process because oftentimes projects won't be wholly funded by EFD, but funded in part with other funding sources as well. It allows us to be strategic in planning the larger CIP program for the city. There'll be a focus on City Council strategic plan priorities. As Ken mentioned, emphasis on shovel-ready projects and those projects that comply with the timeline of being able to be not necessarily completed, but we have to spend funds on the project within 3 years from the date of the bond issuance. So that's what we'll be working on over the next several months. And then just in summary, on this slide, I have the 5 action items for council consideration tonight, acting in various capacities. And I've got a slide, if needed, for each one of those as you go through the consideration process. But that concludes my presentation, and happy to open it up for comments and questions.
Thank you, Tracy. Bringing it back to council. Are there any questions before I open it up for public comment? Nope. Okay, open it up for public comment. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
We have no request to speak on items 15 through 19.
All right, thank you. Closing public comment, bringing it back to council. Councilmember Rose.
Thank you. Thank you. I just had a couple questions. I was trying to formulate my thoughts. The slide that we had the 10 top taxpayers in the EIFD that had about 25.3% of total assessed and then 60.1 of the incremental value. Where are those top 10 taxpayer entities?
I can probably speak a little bit to that generally. So if you think of the major landowners, particularly in the commercial areas, so for example, Riverside Commerce Center that's where Bayer Crop Science and some of the other larger industrial commercial buildings are. That center is predominantly owned by one developer or one owner. So I know that's a good representation of kind of the that point. Another one, at least for the IFD, I'm speaking on that one, is Fulcrum Property owns most of the multifamily sites as well as the vacant sites. I think Adam has a list that we can get a little more detail on that. And that it doesn't make us rare necessarily in terms of having that sort of ownership. I think the point is many of those locations, like the 2 I just mentioned, are within the district. So we have other parts of town where there's large owners, but because those are some of the highest value properties within the EIFD and the IFD, that's why that's significant for this purpose.
And there's some additional riverfront property owner groups that have a significant share as well.
Is it mostly balanced in the riverfront area?
I know those are the big two,
Yeah.
but there are some other major landowners that are within the district areas.
With respect to the rating, this is not my area, so I don't pretend to know how to ask an educated question with respect to it, but triple B negative,
It's triple B minus. I don't want to say it's triple B negative.
okay, thank you. There's a good start right here.
Right.
How does that affect our ability to transact? I mean, it's not clearly at the highest end of the totem pole, right?
Right. So the rating categories would start off at AAA being the best credit, then AA, single A, and triple B. So this is at the lower end of the investment grade rating. But again, these are both very young project areas, particularly the EIFD, which has so much capacity for growth and development. That credit should improve significantly over time. And what will happen is the rating agency, because it is an investment grade but lower investment grade credit, will be reviewing the credit each year. And you could face upgrades as incremental revenue and as that percentage of your top 10 taxpayers supporting the bonds declines over time as other property owners move in. That credit should improve.
And just for everyone's sake, investment grade simply means it's the type of grading on a bond that institutional lenders will buy. In other words, banks and other major investors versus, I hate to use the term, but junk bonds. You don't want to be in that category when you're selling public bond, and we're not.
Tracy, I'm sorry. A moment ago, you took the stand and you were going to mention a variety of different types of projects that we could envision investing in as a result of the issuance of these bonds. Was I just daydreaming? I don't, nothing's sticking out in my head.
We just identified, we have a long list of projects in our CIP program. So we just highlighted a few examples of projects that would be eligible. There are many. And so with Ariana and Jay and their team working with all the other departments, we will be looking strategically at our list of current CIP projects and upcoming ones to see which ones are the best fit to receive EIFD funding based on some of those considerations mentioned.
Now, this is the first of its kind to ever come before the council, correct? Correct.
Yes.
And this is the first of its kind to ever come before any council in the state of California, correct? Is it fair to assume or represent to the community that this is the first of its kind and a model for other agencies that want to pursue EIFD as a financing mechanism?
Councilmember, you're absolutely correct. We've had, so this team, particularly the bond attorneys and the city attornys firm, have worked very hard at structuring a legal mechanism here by which we could fund these bonds and pledge the tax increment to the bondholders. And I believe that there's a number of other communities throughout the state. I know I've gotten some inquiries from people like, what are you guys doing? They're paying very close attention to this because this is a groundbreaking credit. This has never been brought to the market before. So we've had to work our way through all of the intricacies of all of this and ultimately get to what we feel is a very marketable credit. And I think the street is very much watching.
Wow. This is not my area, as I mentioned, but I know, having been around for a while, that it's one of the topics that folks from all around the state often will mention when they hear West Sacramento or that I represent West Sacramento. Probably could speak for some of my colleagues when we go to DC and people will ask what we're doing over here that's allowing us to be so nimble in investing and giving back to this tiny little community. I don't think that people really understand how far the city has come from where it is that we started at in incorporation and beforehand. Quite frankly, the place, there are so many areas in the region that surround West Sacramento that have advanced a lot more, rapidly than we did. We were known for a while to be this, and I'm not saying this, but if I were to have to repeat it, the sleepy industrial town, working class town, that people would often pass by to get to Sacramento or to Davis or to to other places, San Francisco. And yet there were folks that were listening when redevelopment ended. And, over the last 9 years, listening to some of my colleagues talk about this at length, one of whom I spoke with today, Chris Ledesma, who left our council back in 2022. Thank you. And, he said that we started to work on this strategy over a decade ago after redevelopment ended and needed a financing tool for future councils, that would be us, that could leverage to continue keeping West Sac moving forward on infrastructure and whatnot. And he said, this is going to help lift the community up, connect neighborhoods, and lead the city to more opportunities. And it's not lost to me that tonight we're at the cusp of what it is that we're doing here, because this is a decade or more in the making. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention that in the conversations that I hear, when I talk to folks on study missions, there are often other city managers from around California, and they'll ask me, don't you have Aaron Laurel? And I said, yeah, we very, very much do, and we're very lucky, because I don't think the public really understands that Aaron Laurel wrote the EIFD law on the books that is guiding our city to be the number one and the very first to issue these bonds, if we agree upon these tonight. What this could do to our community and moving the progress forward even more rapidly we could ever imagine, right? I mean, again, we are making history. That we made history already as a first all-woman city council, but tonight we get an opportunity to make history in a different way by really impacting the infrastructure and investments in West Sac. So
this will clearly not be the only bond issue done by the EIF. There's hundreds of dollars of future bonding that can work out of the district to benefit the project out. So
oh yeah.
Also it's not just tonight's bond issue, but it's multiple ones over several years that will allow this.
Oh, I'm aware. No, I get you. I'm harping on the fact that we're doing this tonight. Like we're kickstarting the game, right? And so, it takes a lot of innovation and lots of all of you and planning and really thinking this forward. And so as a result of that, we didn't get stagnant when redevelopment left. We actually decided, okay, let me roll up my sleeves and start a new challenge. So thank you, Aaron Laurel, on behalf of Councilmember Chris Ledesma tonight and myself, and I know on behalf of my colleagues here tonight, for allowing us to have the opportunity to vote on this for the better of our community.
Thank you, council member. Any other council members to share? Go ahead.
I feel so at 5 o'clock today, the Public Financing Authority met and we had this almost same presentation. And I think between that presentation, my briefings with staff and all my questions, I'm a pro. So I could be on the dais right now doing this presentation. I'm totally joking. I'm just going to echo Councilmember Karina Orozco's comments about this moment. That's not even a word. What time is it? It's only 9:17, y'all. It's getting there. This just incredible moment that we are at. And thank you to the staff, our financing team, Aaron. I said this at 5 o'clock. I'm going to say it again. Like, incredible work, making history, and just appreciate everything that you've done. And it's going to be so incredible in 3 years to look back and just see the investment we've made in the. And I know staff is ready to spend the money and to invest. And so thank you for everything you've done to get us there today.
Any other comments? Well, yes, thank you. We have a lot of work ahead of us. Looking forward to seeing what we can accomplish with this new financing mechanism. We do have several commissions as these projects are getting rolled out. I don't know if helping them understand an EIFD, because I think this is a nuanced approach to financing our projects, but I think it would be helpful for them. And so getting this maybe as a first step for some commission meetings, and then next are the projects. Otherwise, if you try to do both, it'll be a lengthy meeting. I look forward to continuing to work together with you. This is 3 years. I get a little nervous about not making, meeting our target. And I know we got a lot of projects we can work on, but we've taken a long time to get some projects come to fruition too. Our Ice Street Bridge has been sitting out there ever since I don't know how long, or light rail has been started. Has been sitting out there since I became a council member. So these are big projects that we thought we can get off the ground, and we haven't turned a corner yet. So that's just my experience. So I don't want very tight timeline. If you need a subcommittee to help in any way to expedite things, please don't hesitate to reach out to us to move things along. If you need some kind of support before September, I don't think so, but just keeping us informed in some way, even if it's just independently for any one of us who are asking, and staff who have projects. And I know we've gone over in our strategic planning retreat a bunch of EIFD project ideas. Some were on, some were taken off. I would say put everything back in there because we need to get moving on this. Yes, City Manager.
Oh, thank you. I was actually just coughing, but I did want to make a comment. So thank you for that. I just wanted to take a moment to just a couple thank yous. So I think Tracy called me the OG of EIFDs, but the truth is, maybe I am that, but the real work has happened by the team that's here tonight, and some people that aren't here tonight, but have been very instrumental throughout the years in getting us to this point. I just want to take a moment to not just thank them, but really emphasize the amount of work and ingenuity and creativity that went into this whole process from both our city staff, from Tracy, from Mark Bohemus, and Roberta, and the people in finance, the capital projects team for getting the projects ready, because we understand we have that 3-year mark to get the money expended. We will meet it, but to get to this point has been nothing but it's been a labor of love, I think, for the people that have been involved, because we're all, we understand we're breaking ground here in California. But at the same time, it has been a lot of somewhat tedious work, but also kind of making a little bit up as we go in a way, not necessarily with the bonds, but with kind of the being the first EIFD in the state and getting to the point where we're ready to do this tonight. So I just want to give a huge thanks to everyone that's been involved. Constantine's been with us, used to work with Chronic actually, and has been, I've referred to him as the preeminent EIFD attorney in the state. He may be the only one at the moment, but he's the best one out there for this. So just want to stress that, and then also for the council, more than anything, this could have gone a lot of different ways over the years. We lost redevelopment in 2012. And we've been building it back since then. West Sacramento has been at the forefront of that, and that's only possible with the consistent leadership of the city council. And you've been steadfast. I know this stuff is kind of out there in a little bit, but what's most important for anyone who's following this tonight, especially for residents, this has been the driver for what made West Sacramento go through so much positive transformative change. Since incorporation. We're doing nothing different with the tax increment funding that this is ultimately using to issue these bonds than was being done in 1987 when we first incorporated and we had a redevelopment agency. So we're proud to continue that legacy, but most of all, I want to thank the council for allowing us the space and giving us the mandate to go figure this stuff out and be here tonight to frankly make history. So hopefully you're proud of yourselves for that, and just want to thank you and all the staff that have been part of it. So thanks for the time.
Thank you. Such an exciting experience here, and I do appreciate all the comments from my colleagues, the history of EIFD, the progress that it's just changed the complexion of our city in some key areas, and the opportunity that it extends for growing that beyond those areas. I know my colleague, Councilmember Paula, was asking, where are we going to make those investments? And it's the bridge. It has been, the bridge. It's, other big projects. It could be Wright Park, possibly. It could be a number of things that we've been dreaming about and haven't made, it hasn't come to reality. So I think as our predecessors has laid the groundwork, it's this council. I mean, we have so much pride. This council is making the decision. And that's from all the history and all the experience that has been gained over the years that we have the honor of making this decision here today among my 4 colleagues. It is such a great opportunity. So thank you for all your hard work and your diligence, your perseverance, and your expertise, sharing that with us so that we can be the council from the state of California, claim this, this banner of progress. So thank you so much, and hopefully you can continue to grow and have other jurisdictions make that happen. And with that, I'll accept a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, Councilmember Roscoe moved, and Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the, oh, wait a minute. We got to go one by one.
One by one, please.
One by one. We will start with item number 15, Finance is under Finance, a resolution of 25-43 of the City Council of the City of West Sacramento affirming the issuance and sale by the City of West Sacramento Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District Number 1 of bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $80 million, approving related pledge agreement, approving facilities to be financed, and determining other matters in connection herewith. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Councilmember Orozco moved, and Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio seconded.
Councilmember Alcala?
Aye.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye. All right, that item is approved. Next is item 16, is a resolution 25-44 affirming the issuance and sale by the City of West Sacramento Infrastructure Financing District Number 1, Bridge District area of bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6.5 million, approving related pledge agreement and determining other matters in connection therewith. Madam, I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Councilmember Orozco moved. Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Alcala?
Aye.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye. Okay, this item is approved. Next is item 17, is a City Council Resolution 25-45 of the City of West Sacramento on behalf of the Financing District Number 1, Bridge District area, as its legislative body resolution 25-45 authorizing the issuance and sale of Infrastructure Financing District Number 1, Bridge District area bonds in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $6.5 million and determining other matters in connection therewith. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Roscoe Sulpicio Hull. Councilmember Roscoe.
Councilmember Alcala?
Aye.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye. This item is approved. Item 18, resolution of the West Sacramento Financing Authority approving the form of and authorizing execution and delivery of the bond purchase agreement related to the City of West Sacramento Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District Number 1, tax increment bonds, approving other actions related to the bonds. I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, Councilmember Orozco moved. Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio seconded. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Alcala?
Aye.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
This item is approved. Item 19 is consideration of West Sacramento Financing Authority resolution approving the form of and authorizing execution and delivery of the bond purchase agreement related to the City of West Sacramento Infrastructure Financing District Number 1, Bridge District area tax increment bonds, approving other actions related to the bonds. I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
Okay, Madam Clerk, Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull moved and Councilmember Roscoe seconded.
Councilmember Alcala?
Aye.
Councilmember Roscoe?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye, this item is approved. I would like to ask for a photograph of the team at this time, please.
Great
Let's
idea.
go down and take a photo. Oh, you're still here. You too.
Let's do
Gonna move out of the way? Nah. Pretty good wall. Okay, but this is just ground.
Yeah, right. He's gonna do it.
Okay, next, under General Administration Function Part 2, do we have reports from our council assignments?
I will report. Thank you, Madam Mayor. On May 1st, the Executive Commission to Address Homelessness met here in West Sacramento, and we approved TAP 5 funding to several applicants. And I'm very pleased to report that West Sacramento did incredibly well on their presentations and applications. And so money is coming to West Sacramento for, and this is the city of West Sacramento, for interim housing, rapid rehousing, prevention and shelter diversion, and then Mosaic Village. Don Bosley and his team presented as well, and they'll be receiving some HAP 5 funding as well. On May 19th, the Yellow Basin Groundwater Agency met. Biggest thing to note is that we're going through financing and assessment restructuring, and we brought in a new consultant to help us look at what the assessment structure is going to be and how we are going to go through the voting process with property owners. And then I'll just mention there is a focus area of Hungry Hollow right now, which is an area of Yolo County with concerns of groundwater. And so speaking with one of our supervisors, a conversation about some policy changes might need to be made. So if you do hear anything about Hungry Hollow in Yolo County, just perk your ears up and kind of keep an eye on that because there's a lot of farmers. It's the breadbasket of Yolo County, and making sure that they have water for their crops is really going to be very important. May 19th, also the Yolo Habitat Conservancy met. Very much business as usual. We approved our annual report. The biggest thing I'll notice is that we've had some significant staffing changes. We've had both the executive director and our senior staff leave. We have an interim executive director, and right now we're working with the new county administrator to determine what the staffing arrangements with Yolo County will be for the Conservancy. And then I'll mention we attended Cap to Cap. I participated both in the Economic Development and Civic Amenities team. Civic Amenities team really focused on small business and a lot of conversations around bids. We had a lot of conversations about the downtown bid, NOMA bid, Capital Riverfront bid, and it just reminds me how important it is for us to bring a business improvement district to West Sacramento, specifically West Capitol Avenue, and how that will remain a priority of mine because the ability to bring property owners together to improve a space is so incredibly powerful. And we can see not only in the Sacramento region, but it was very clear when we were in DC, the great things that the bids are doing there. And Economic Development met with multiple state departments, Congressman Mike Thompson, Doris Matsui, had a fascinating meeting with the U.S. Department of Energy, the Loans Programs Office, and I'm sure a lot of folks are going to be reporting from the meetings, just staffing changes and the theme of uncertainty. So it was really interesting to have that meeting and get recommendations about how our businesses who are working in the energy space can better communicate and get information back and forth through the U.S. Department of Energy. My favorite meeting and the most interesting meeting was a meeting that was brought together of the vice mayors led by Sergio Robles from Elk Grove. We met with the Office of Ambassador at the Embassy of Mexico and had just a really honest conversation about our relationship and the things that are going really well and opportunities for us to work together. We talked about immigration. We talked about our Farm to Fork movement and the Terra Madres Festival coming up. And the team there just very energized to have a group from the Sacramento region looking to collaborate on some really fun things. One of the pilot programs that we're talking about working on right now is how the business community can partner with them to be able to share resources with businesses about immigration and how they can protect their employees and how they can share information. And they really saw an opportunity to possibly roll out a pilot program working with us. And so there will be more to come from the vice mayors on that, working with the Metro Chamber and collaborating with the Metro Chamber on future work together.
Member Alcala.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm also going to report out real quickly at Cap to Cap. I was on the flood team, and our team met with Congressman Matsui, Congressman Thompson's office, Barra, and I did not, but members of our team also met with Kylie. And even though funding is uncertain in certain areas, we did receive, I would say, some very positive responses in terms to continued funding on flood control. So safety definitely continues to be a top priority. And then last week I attended the Senior Resource Fair to present the Mayor's proclamation on contributions and recognizing the tremendous impact that seniors have here in West Sacramento. I really want to commend the Parks team. That was a tremendous turnout. The place was packed with seniors that were thrilled to be getting resource materials, little swag here and there, and they had a wonderful raffle as well, and our police department was out there. They were handing out ice cream to everyone's enjoyment. My mother attended, and she loved it because she not only received a lot of information, very helpful to her, but she actually made a friend out there, so very good event.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. You bring us any swag?
She kept it all.
Kate will take swag. Councilmember Rose.
All right, I'll do the boring one first. The Sacramento Sewer District met on May 14th to talk about a contract to approve an increase in instruction change orders for our harvest water project. We also received a presentation on the harvest water project on-farm connection phases. This regional sanitation and Sac Sewer Board used to be different entities, and I had always served on the regional sanitation board. We've merged, and so we have a lot of very administrative matters that we need to attend to that aren't always really sexy, but in any case, they are necessary. And one of the things that we talked about was the fact that labor costs are up, and we have a 13% vacancy rate due to a shortage of qualified water workers. And we're looking to establish competitive salaries so that way we can fill those and make sure that people are appropriately compensated. I did ask the $1 million question, which was, and like literally the $1 million question, which is where are we with chlorine costs? Because it's just a concern of mine, and it looks like there has been a little bit more of a stabilization, which is great news for us, especially as we consider embarking upon potential water projects within the city. On a side note, I did share an assignment with Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hall, which is interesting because I think we would have reported out differently. I did like what you had to say about PBIT, and I absolutely echo that sentiment. I know that that is something that we have pursued and are continuing to discuss in the city, because I do think that establishing that for, if it's possible to do that, it could have some extraordinary impacts on the complexion of certain parts of our city, and potentially fund programs that the city currently takes on, such as the downtown street team. Well, I guess in a traditional role. But what I would say is part of the civic amenities team is sometimes seeing things that you might want to replicate in your community. In the past, we've, it's similar to like study missions, where you go out and you see what people are doing, the best practices in other communities, and then you think, well, how could that work here? And why that's valuable is one of the things that we saw, in addition to well, there were many, but two of my favorites. One of them was a small business accelerator program, and they actually had us take a tour of the programs, and you see all these workers that are basically people putting their life savings on the line to follow their dream of making, I don't know, organic crackers that are made, they're gluten-free, lactose-free, and, you know, sugar-free, and all the frees, right? But essentially they go in and they utilize co-working spaces to create these items, and they make them on a small scale, but some of them have really blown up, and they're in Whole Foods or other major chains. And so I know that many years ago, you know, our council had discussed what we could be in West Sacramento as a small business accelerator or incubator space. And seeing my first, obviously, is very remarkable. And I could renew my interest in pursuing that for a lot of small business owners here. I know that's been a shared interest amongst our council members in the past, even as we consider some of the new investments we made along in our city. But what might be more appealing at 9:40 p.m. is to have this thing called the Metro Beer Trail, man, and it's essentially miles of trail, and along the trail are breweries that people can stop at, and they can every time they buy a beer or buy any food, they get points toward a prize. And you could imagine hypothetically in the city, once we really knock out the Sycamore Trail extension in our phase 3 and connecting it to all the rest of the trail systems within the city, really having folks that will be able to jump on one of those trails and go from Drake's to Treehouse to Sal's Tacos, back through and hitting other businesses along the corridor, and Bike Dog and Jackrabbit, and any other business that decides that they want to relocate to West Sacramento, because we have this cool trail that people just jump on their little beer bikes or whatever. I mean, trailers and all, dogs and all, and actually get some exercise while traveling throughout the city in pursuit of a fantastic beer. But again, until we can see it, we can't really believe it, right? And so I think that it's just really cool to see what other great cities are doing. I hope that the sky continues to be the limit. Tonight we had an incredible set of experiences on one agenda, and I think now all we can do is dream for what it is that we want to see in the future. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Last week, May, I attended the SACOG Transportation Committee, and there were a number of items. One was the approval of the scope of change for the city of West Sacramento's Great Delta Trail Clarksburg Branch Line Extension. Since we were awarded the Carbon Reduction Grant Program funding, complete preliminary engineering and right-of-way phases for the Delta Trail, we requested to move all award funding into the preliminary engineering phase, and leaving an unfunded need in the right-of-way phase. We also received a presentation on the mobility zones adoption. So to recap the process used to identify 23 mobility zones across the 6-county region, and one of ours was prioritized in Bright Broderick area. We also received information on the 2025 4-county state program progress report, which is currently underway, and we'll continue to receive updates on milestones and next steps. We went over the transportation options for upcoming A's games. I think we do see a number of people, I think about 3,000 in the scooter and bicycle uses. I think there's some figures there in case you'd like to get that information. SACOG is tracking that. That concludes that. Next is the Yellow Animal Services Planning Agency. The April meeting, we did go over big change for all of us to be considering is from going from a joint planning to a joint operational agency. So that's the big change. We're having those conversations and listening to a nonprofit organization called Unleashing the Possibilities, about examples of JPA models and organizational structures. They do want to find ways to enhance more fundraising and volunteers to support the animals and the care that they need. There's some parameters, and I'm hoping that we'll get a presentation soon. It feels like that process is being fast-tracked, but I think we'll have some time to think about it, but I'm guessing it'll happen sometime. And with that, any council, the council calendar?
Good evening. Just a reminder that June 9th at 30 is the Sycamore Trail overcrossing ribbon. That's Thursday, May 29th. Thanks.
City manager report?
Yeah, just two quick things tonight. One, we completed the second class of the Community Academy very recently. You got an email today, which is an infographic. I think it came from Kaisa. I really encourage you to check it out because it has some good statistics about the class, but also what was most interesting was some of the quotes from some of the participants. I think you'll appreciate. So I'll just leave you with that. And I always look for great opportunities to embarrass our staff. I think he's still here. So this is serious though. Our own Deputy City Manager, Doug Drozd, just completed his Masters of Public Policy Administration program in Sac State. We're going to be celebrating that with him this week, but more notably, he also received the Dean's Award from the Graduate School of Social Sciences and Interdisciplinary Studies. So he is officially MPPA, which already makes him more qualified than me to sit here. So congratulations to Doug. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that update. City attorney report. Staff direction from city council members. We do have two future agenda items. A request for me to issue a proclamation at the June 4th City Council meeting recognizing June 6th as National Gun Violence Awareness Day, considering the recent events. And also based on a ride-along and a lot of things we hear out on the streets, just a lot of guns all over the place. And we want to also make sure their, family members have, as they're storing their safe storage of their own guns, so no accidents happen among our kids. So with that, I request a motion to approve getting this on the next agenda. And is there any report from council staff?
No, on that one, we're prepared to bring that on June 4th.
Okay.
So no problem on the staff side. And the second one, I believe, came from
We'll take it one by
Councilmember
one.
Early.
So we need a vote.
Yeah, we typically have been doing votes on each of these just for
Yeah.
consideration.
I'll accept the vote.
So move. How about so move?
Councilmember Alcala moved and Councilmember Orozco seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Ocala?
Aye.
Councilmember Roscoe? Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Holt?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye. All right, thank you. And then we have a request from Councilmember Early to invite the Yolo Community Foundation to give a presentation at a future city council meeting on the 2025 State of the Sector Report. Any staff report?
So this one, yes, like I said, like you said, it came from Councilmember Early. If you recall, Jessica Hubbard from the Yolo Community Foundation was here, I believe, on one of the previous meetings recently, and referenced that there was a State of Nonprofits report. And so if there's interest from the council to actually have her come and give a quick presentation on that report, we can work with her to schedule it for a future meeting. We don't have a date set yet, but it seems like...
am interested in finding out if everything that's going on federally.
Yolo Community Foundation is the, like a nonprofit, does
Right.
Day of Giving,
They
and
raise
they-
money and
raise money and
for
then
other
they give- and then they
nonprofits.
give money.
Yep.
Don't think it's funding.
They just get money and give money. Right?
Some of their nonprofits may get federal.
Some of the nonprofits may get federal.
Yeah,
I don't know if we'll have
they
that
might
level of.
have a
granular data.
Yeah, my understanding of this report, it sort of looks at the overall state of affairs in the nonprofit sector and how
Okay.
it impacts locally as well. So if it's of interest to the council, we would want to do the same thing with a vote.
So
We can
just
schedule it with.
referencing Councilmember Alcala's interest to also understand the federal impact, you can include that.
Sure, we
That'll
can
be
ask
great.
her for that.
I'll accept a motion. Councilmember Orozco and then Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull, seconded.
Councilmember Acala?
Aye.
Councilmember Orozco?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sulpicio Hull?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye. All right, we are now adjourned. Good night, everybody.
My only hesitancy on joining you is I have to do it